real estate. Documents are not the same as titles. It's high time we stopped confusing ourselves with these two real estate terminologies. Hi, my name is James Oluwayemi, and I am the lead consultant of JSP's Homes. Welcome to another episode on our YouTube channel where we discuss everything real estate, from price fluctuations in real estate, deals in real estate, problems arising from transactions in real estate, everything real estate. If you're just watching us for the very first time, please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And do not forget to turn on your notification button so you can get updates whenever we bring any news, any updates, any deal on this YouTube channel for you and for everyone interested in buying real estate. Now, our topic for today is one of the most important topics in real estate. Real estate, titles, and documents. There are several times that people have confused these two things, titles and documents. In fact, people now assume that a particular estate or a particular land is safe to buy because of documents, not because of the titles, whereas there are two different things entirely. Let's dive into titles in real estate, and I would also talk about documents so you can understand how these two things differs when we talk about real estate. Now, so titles are documentary evidences that shows the rights, interest, and ownership that one has in transferring such property to someone else who is supposed to be called a buyer. Now, according to the Land Use Act of 1978, the Land Use Act of 1978 is that piece of legislation that helps and guides real estate transactions in time past and even in the current state. Now, this Land Use Act rules that all lands in a state belongs to the governor who holds it in trust. If all of these lands belong to the government who holds it in trust, it means that for people to be able to claim any portion of land, there are certain procedures that has to be taken. There are certain processes that will be gone through before all of these things are achieved. Now, this brings us to the first title called accession. Because the government understands that indigenes of a state are supposed to have rights to ownership of the lands which by tradition is their own, they are expected to give or to cede the entire portion of a particular land for them. The process where they are ceding this land, take for example, a whole portion of land in a particular area, and a particular part of that land is supposed to be for the indigenes to reside or to do whatever they wish to do in that area. They decide that because we understand that whatever we are using as development in this particular area, we are obviously doing it for the sake of humans and for indigenes of that area. So how can we achieve this? So they see the particular portion of that whole and give it to the indigene of that land. This process is what we call accession. They are excising. Excising means bringing parts out of a whole. They are bringing a particular part from the whole portion of land in that area and giving it to the indigenes. Now, the indigenes of that area are supposed to say that the title of that particular land is accession, which means they are giving them parts from a whole. Don't forget, it is the government that gives them, that cede that portion of land and gives it to them. So this means that indigenes of that area, when they are trying to transfer the title, they are transferring it with that documentary evidence of accession. I hope you get that right. Now, the next title is gazette. Going back to the previous title, accession. After government must have excised those particular areas for the indigenes, they go to document it. Now, there is a book for documentation. This book is called Gazette. A Gazette is a government official record where they spell out everything special to them. Most people who have done public sector accounting in the accounting line, they would understand what I am saying better. Now, this Gazette is that record where they put in so many things that are special, which includes these portions of land that they have excised for the indigenes. Now, by the time they document these portions of land into that official record, The title then moves from excision to gazette. Now, let me say that again. After the government must have documented the records of that portion of land that they excise for the indigents into that their official book, that official book I said is called gazette, that title now moves from excision to gazette. So it means that when you see some titles are excision while some are gazette, it's simply trying to analyze that some have been moved from excision to gazette, which means that they have been moved from just excising to documentation. So you should understand fully well now that excision is a lower title when compared to gazette, because excision is just seeding that particular portion for them, while gazette is documentation of that one that they have seeded for them into the official record of the government. Now let me bring you a little bit back to excision. While we started doing this real estate business, we understood that some persons were preaching excision in progress, excision in progress. I plead with you investors who are watching this video, do not buy excision in progress from anyone. What they are trying to say is that they have decided, maybe the company or whosoever wants that portion of land to be given to them, they have written to the government, they've gone to the government to give them that particular portion of land, but the government has not yet accepted. It means that the government has not approved it for them. He has not given them that part. It is just in process. So when something is in process, it is trying to tell you that it's under probability. It may be accepted and it might not be accepted. If it is not accepted and you have bought excision in progress, how do you deal with such transaction? So the two titles that I've mentioned, particularly now, they are excision and gazette. Now, the next title is C of O. This title happens to be the most important title in land transaction. In fact, it is the title that we all grew up to know when it concerns land transactions. While we're growing up, if any land does not contain C of O, we will say, oh, this land is not genuine. It is when we explore so much knowledge in real estate that we got to understand that there are other titles. However, it does not change the fact that C of O happens to be the paramount title and the biggest title in real estate. Now, what is C of O? C of O is a situation where government leases the rights, the ownership, the interest of a particular land to a particular person or a group of people for a period of years. Now, that period of years, according to our knowledge in real estate, is 99 years. The government leases the ownership of a land, the right of a land, the interest of a land for 99 years. This title is so big to the extent that it is given directly from the government. So the C of O is a legal statutory right given by the government to a person to own both the interest and the rights over a particular land. We sometimes refer it to as a lease by the government to use a particular land for 99 years, which means that a C of O title is valid for 99 years. The right on such land is a very paramount right. The government gives it to individuals who must have applied for such. It is a process that most people still do in the real estate space, for real estate lands, for real estate transactions. One of the most legitimate documentary evidence on land. In fact, many people believe that a land that does not have a C of O title is not a valid land. Like I said earlier, exploring the ways of real estate transactions and real estate titles have opened our eyes to many other titles. However, it still doesn't change the fact that the right of occupancy given by the state government is the most important, which is the C of O title. Now, there is another title that I am supposed to talk about, but I will not be able to go into that title without talking about one particular document. I have been talking about transferring of ownership of lands from one person to another. However, I have not established that there is a document that is very, very important in transferring ownership of that title. The ownership of title, rights, and interest from one person who might be the seller to a person who is the buyer. In real estate, we call that person who is selling the assignor and the person who is buying the assignee. That document is called a deed of assignment. I am going to a new title, but I want to explain what a deed of assignment is because you will need that knowledge to understand the next title. Now, that deed of assignment is a document showing the transfer of rights, ownership, title, and everything, the usage of that land, from one person who happens to be the signer or the seller to another person who is the assignee or the buyer. Now, this deed of assignment is a legal document. It is being prepared by a legal representative, and it is very important for every real estate transaction. In fact, if there is any transfer of ownership of land without a deed of assignment, I promise you it is not a complete transfer of ownership. Now, let me go into the last title that I'm going to talk about, which is called governor's consent. I told you earlier on that a C of O title is a statutory right given to an individual to make use of a land for 99 years. It is like the utmost right of occupancy. Now, for somebody who have been given a right of occupancy by the state government, take for example, Mr. James has gone to the government to get a C of O title on his land. Now, he wants to transfer the ownership of that particular land to Mr. Sheyi. Mr. Sheyi happened to be somebody who has not gone to the government to receive rights over that land. But Mr. James is willing to sell his land. Now, don't forget that for Mr. Sheyi to be able to get his land, he would obviously get a document called a deed of assignment from Mr. James. But don't forget that Mr. James has a right to that land from the state government, which means that if you go back to the state government to check the ownership and right of that land, they will tell you that this land belonged to Mr. James because he was the one who got the right, the interest, and the ownership of such land. This is what Mr. Sheyi is expected to do. Mr. Sheyi is expected to go to the government to process a new title. However, they would only tell Mr. Sheyi that yes, we have acknowledged that through the deed of assignment that has transferred the ownership and the right of this C of O land from Mr. James to you, we know fully well that you are now the owner of this land. So the title of this land is going to move from C of O to a governor's consent, which means that the governor has consented to the fact that Mr. Sheyi is now the new carrier of the right of ownership of that land. The next time Mr. Sheyi is going to talk about his documentation, he's obviously going to call that land a governor's consent land, a titled land with governor's consent, because it means that Mr. Sheyi has bought a property from Mr. James containing a C of O title, and he would not be able to claim the ownership of that land until he has consented the governor's authority on that particular land. So it means that the next title is governor's consent, which I just explained clearly. I hope that you get the picture of Mr. James and Mr. Sheyi transferring of ownership of lands, title, interest to Mr. Sheyi, who is now the rightful owner, using the title to be governor's consent. Now, let me go back to the fact that I started with annexation. I told you that annexation is when a portion of a particular land has been excised from the government for the purpose of usage, be it by indigene or persons who have reached out to the government, maybe real estate companies who have reached out to the government to want to make use of a particular area. Then I moved it to gazette. I told you that a gazette is when that portion of land that has been excised has been moved into the special records of the government, the official record of the government known as the gazette. The title moves from excision to gazette. Then I told you about C of O title being the right of occupancy given to a particular person, in most cases given to one person, the title, the right, the interest for the person's usage. It then means that that land title is leased to that person for 99 years. We've had many questions of how people are going to get more updates about when their lands have gotten to 99 years. How do we get new updates? All of these things will be discussed on many other episodes that we'll be talking about. Don't forget, when I started this particular topic, I told you that we would also be talking about documents. Now, I dived into a particular document called deed of assignment while I was talking about title, because it is the document that transfers ownership. However, there are other documents, but they do not transfer ownership. In a real estate transaction, there are other documents, but they do not transfer ownership. One of it is a receipt. A receipt is an acknowledgement of payment from the buyer to the seller. Not only in real estate transactions, but in every other transaction. But it's in real estate, when it concerns real estate, when A is buying from B and B wants to acknowledge that he has received the payments of B, he is expected to give B a receipt to prove to the fact that yes, payment has been made. but that do not transfer the ownership in real estate. It is just an acknowledgement of payment. Also, there is another document called a survey plan. A survey can be divided into a registered survey or a provisional survey. We will talk about that in one of our episodes coming up. Now, this survey is not also a document for transferring ownership. It is only a document that shows the portion of the land, the boundaries to which whosoever is buying has over that land. It is talking about the size, the boundaries, the measurements of that particular land. Don't forget, I told you that it is a document important for real estate, but it is not a title, and it is not to be used for the transfer of ownership. The reason why I'm explaining this in detail is that in recent times we have been seeing people who have called some of these things titles. Some people have gone to the stage of telling us that this particular property has deed of assignment as the title, it has a survey as the title. I am only telling you that all of these things are documents important in real estate, but they are not the exact titles to these documents. That will be all for now on this particular episode. I understand that so many of you would have questions regarding this particular episode. You can drop your questions in form of comments, and in the description my number is also available for you to reach out and ask any question regarding all that I have talked about today on titles and documents. Once again, my name is James of GSpace Homes, and you get to see more of me talk to you about updates, trends, situations in real estate. Do well to continually watch out for more episodes on our channel. Like I told you at the beginning of this episode, to turn on your notification button, because we'll be bringing in more information as it concerns real estate. Like this video and subscribe to our channel, and you'll be glad that you did. Cheers and bye for now.